Hey everyone, today I'm here to talk about Such Charming Liars by Karen M. McManus. This is actually the first Karen M. McManus book that I've finished. I read One of Us is Lying, but I didn't finish it, and I remember liking it, I just didn't get around to finishing it. So this feels like a monumental, this feels like a Girl Scout badge, if you will, in reading, getting to read my first Karen M. McManus book and finish it. She is obviously, I think, tied with Holly Jackson in a way for just like the queen of like YA murder mysteries. The interesting thing about this though actually is it's billed more as a heist book, which I don't technically think I agree with. Like, if you were asking me, is this a heist book, or if someone is like, I want a heist book, should I read this? No. I think a heist book to me is more like Heist Society, like Ally Carter, where something is like actually getting stolen. This definitely is a murder mystery one. Like, that's the core of it, which isn't bad because it's interesting in itself. It's just billing it as a heist, I think, kind of oversells the heist aspect of it. So it is about like the heist is kind of like the main aspect of it. So I could see where you think that. It's just, for me, something has to be actually stolen by the main people. Now, the main characters in this, the two points of views, are Liam and Kat, and they are step siblings who, when they were really young, like 5 and 6, their parents got married in this like whirlwind weekend in Vegas, and then the kids actually got separated, went missing, and they haven't seen each other since, till they both show up at this estate for this super rich guy's birthday party. Kat and her mom are there because Kat's mom works for this woman who is like a jewel thief. Like, I don't know exactly what the word is, but like when you swap them out, so it's like she'll grab the real jewel, make a fake one, swap them out. So Kat's mom is there to grab this necklace and swap that out. That's super valuable. Liam is there because his dad is kind of conning, kind of dating the daughter of the rich man's birthday that it is. So they see each other for the first time in like honestly 10 plus years. And the, again, plan is for Kat's mom to swap this necklace, but things immediately start going wrong and it ends up with Kat witnessing a murder. And then the person who did that is now out to get her, and Liam gets caught up in all that. So like I said, there's so many plot points moving in this that to describe it, I feel like honestly the less you know going in, the more interesting it is. Again, when I went into it, it was billed as like the heist book, so I was just expecting more, I think, like heisty stuff, but I do like the aspects of like a heist or like a plot of just something happening and then all these things going wrong that can. Just a series of horrible choices. Like, when you have a chance to go A or B, it's always going to be the one that ends up worse. And it was almost frustrating in the beginning. Like, I would say like the first like 100 or so pages, like Kat was just making bad decision after bad decision, because originally she's not even supposed to be here with her mom. She sneaks her way on that, and then stuff starts happening and she's kind of like, I'll try and fix this, and then just makes everything worse with every decision she makes. You're just like face palming, like, why is that the decision you make? But then you also have to remember that she's like a 16-year-old girl that's way in over her head. I think what originally was jarring to me, and this is why I say like I wouldn't recommend it as a heist novel, but still a good book, is that I think when I think heist, I think like Ocean's 11, like very slick and sophisticated, of like they've been doing this their whole lives and they're really good at it. This is not the case, and that's why it's almost more interesting, I think, because again, like everything goes wrong and you see Kat and Liam both so overwhelmed by everything and not knowing what the right decision to make is. And originally I think it's so jarring from what you expect that I was put off by it. But then once I realized that's the direction it's going in, it was actually very fun, and I feel like more relatable in a way, of being like, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily know to keep your cool in this situation when all this stuff is happening and every choice you've made up till then has been the wrong choice. Like, of course it's gonna add more pressure on what you think you're doing and what you think is the next thing. Even though I was groaning with a lot of the choices she made, being like, why are you doing this? I have to say that after a while, it just, I loved her. I loved Kat and I loved Liam, and just every bad decision she made, it's like I feel like that like little sibling that just like, you're like, why are you doing this? But you can't help but love them because they're just so cute. And I did see reviews saying that because she makes so many just like bad choices, it does get frustrating. And I thought that originally. Like, I will say about like the third bad choice she made, I was like, are you kidding me? However, it just like something about it just becomes endearing after a while, where I just absolutely loved it. Other things that I really liked were, again, Liam and Kat were step siblings when they were younger, and then seeing each other for the first time in like 10 or 11 years. And I feel like because it's like YA, my mind always goes of like where the love interests are going to be. So I was kind of concerned that they would be the love interest, which was just weird because, again, they were step siblings at one point, even if they haven't seen each other for a while. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that no, they are not love interests. And there's actually a very big emphasis on the fact of like, even though they haven't seen each other in a while, they still like have that sibling bond and like consider themselves to be really close like family. So I thought that was really fun because it also explains a lot of like why Liam's so willing to help Kat and help her out with like things going bad and why she's so protective of him and everything like that. And I just think I could easily see it where another book or another author would have made it so they were love interests, and that would have taken away a lot of the heart of the story and their sibling dynamic and relationship. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. There is a really cute love interest though. It's Augustus, who is the nephew of the woman that Liam's dad is dating. So that's a really cute one to see how that developed. They kind of have the main trio of Augustus, Kat, and Liam are the ones investigating what happens, because again, like the night that this heist is supposed to go off, what actually happens is one of the rich dude's kids ends up dying, and there's this whole investigation into what exactly happened. A lot of it is interesting because it's one of those things where it's like you think you have the whole picture of it and you think you know what happens, but then the rest of the book is like slowly unraveling that and seeing that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I also really was impressed because there's like a twist and then there's like another twist with like no time left in the book, but it doesn't feel rushed or unresolved, because I feel like sometimes when, much like a movie, when you get to a certain point in a book and you see that you have so many pages left or you have so much time in a movie left, you're like, okay, clearly something else is happening, like they're not wrapping this up. But I have to give the credit to Karen because it was like she had maybe like 20 pages left and I was like, okay, everything's wrapped up, like clearly like there's some kind of loose ends, but not in a bad way, just kind of like, all right, maybe we're leaving some stuff loose. And then no, everything got wrapped up and you were like, oh my goodness, like the way everything was interconnected and weaved together was just so amazing to see. And like I said, I really enjoyed all the characters. I heard like in some reviews that Augustus is similar to other characters that she's written, but being that this is the first book I've read by her, I didn't have an issue with that. I thought Liam and Kat were really fun. I think again, it's just the way this book is billed is interesting because it's called obviously Such Charming Liars, and the description says like Liam and Kat are really good liars, and Kat is a good liar. Like she's basically a con girl, like passed down from her family, right? But Liam, it's mentioned multiple times, is a bad liar. Like he is kind of trying to stay out of this as much as he can. Like he's the one that he doesn't really see when like things are going sideways because he sees the good in everything. Kat's more of the one that's ready for like everything to go wrong and looking over her shoulder and everything like that. But I think that makes for a more interesting dynamic. Like I feel like based on going in, I was set up that they would be equals, of like they're both kind of living these lives of like his dad's a con artist, her mom is a jewel thief, like they both know the way the world works, but it's actually really different in that like she's in this world, but again, I think it's cool because she's in this world, but she's new to it. She's a kid, like she's been protected from a lot of it. So I like the idea that like just because like you've been around it, you've seen it, like instead of thinking like, oh, I can do this, like you think you can do it, and then when it actually turns into getting to it, you're like, oh, I'm actually very bad at this. Because again, all of her choices are just, again, the worst possible ones you could make. But again, I think it's a nice balance of like her being part of this world and knowing like there's bad in people and you have to watch out for yourself, mixed with Liam's like seeing the good in people and wanting to be better, and that kind of combination of them I think works so well, and again shows the strength of their relationship and like how they truly make each other better. So I really loved it. I think it was such a fun book, and again so entertaining. Like I've just read some murder mysteries beforehand that I feel like are just so dumb by the time everything wraps up, but everything in here made sense. And I do want to talk about the spoilers. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled for the big things, just know that we're going to talk about the big things. Now, the killer being revealed to be her father, I truly did not see that coming. There was a similar book in kind of premise of like being on the run, like having to hide your names, that I had read, where that was just kind of like the background story. So I really didn't think it was gonna come up again, that would be who it was. For a majority of this, I felt so smart because I was like, it's clearly Morgan. Like Morgan set up like that she was gonna get sick from the food, and Morgan was near their tire that broke down. Like I would say about like page like 50, 100, I was like, it's Morgan. And I was like laying down in bed, like going to sleep, so proud of myself because I figured it out. And then halfway through, I think like as Kat figured out, I was like, oh crap, like Morgan actually was the one keeping her from like getting killed. Like everything would have happened how it was, so who else is left? And I'm like going through it, I'm like, this person's left, this person's left. I'm like, the only other person is Jem. So I was one shocked, like I figured out maybe like half a second before it was revealed that Jem was going to be in on it, but never in a million years would I have guessed her dad was involved. I also didn't think Luke was involved, so having that kind of tied in and connected together was really interesting. And then I never ever would have guessed that at the end Annalise was involved in this. That was the thing that got me, because again, there's like one chapter, 10 pages left. There's like kind of a confusion about like how someone knew something, and then you find out that this person that like basically, again, I had never thought anything was super up with her until we got to Kat's chapter at the end, where she's like, it's kind of weird how she's just like adopted Liam as like her little pet or something like that. That was the first time that I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of like weird that she's just like falling into place with this so easy. Never would I have guessed that everything was involved with that. It feels kind of like Knives Outy in a way, of like this family that's so messed up has all these like secrets and connections from each other. I also have to say I love, because I feel like sometimes like the like scares or whatever after the initial like event crime happens just don't feel as like whatever, like it's like a backed car like backfires or something like that, or it's like they get a note that says like I know what you did or something like that, or I'm coming for you. Having it be that like no, they are literally almost killed 2 separate times, like it was really scary. And like the tension of like them having to go and like fight the guy, not knowing who it is when he's trying to like suffocate the mom in the room, that was good. And then at the cabin, that whole scene of them like trying to sneak out, like you felt the tension of it, like you were like basically watching it on the screen. Like I thought that was really good, because it made it more, again, scary than just like getting a note that says something or something. Like it really feels like you understand more where the ideas of like them making bad choices are coming from. Because Kat even says it at one point when they're like, I don't think this is a good idea. She's like, I'm tired. Like I just want to rest for an hour. Like I've been on the run, and kind of the idea of the exhaustion of always being on the edge and worried about like what's going to happen next and how that just gets to you. I feel like that's not often something that's portrayed. Like I feel like it's a lot on the back foot of this because it's so quick. It's only like one weekend, that it really shows like how that catches up with you, and how it's not like just like you have time to sit around and think of what's going on and settle on like the best idea and analyze all the stuff that's going on. Like they were really on the run at the moment, trying to figure out who they could trust, who they could go to. So I feel like it felt realistic, and that's kind of why I could understand at a point Kat making the decisions. Because like when she when she put the ring on, I was like, girl, like that is a terrible decision. And then it gets stuck, and she's like literally like, well, I'll just wear it and like turn the diamond around. And I'm like, again, worst decision you can make. Like throw a band-aid on it, yank it off, like put a glove on. Like anything is better than walking out with like a $20,000 diamond when you're supposed to be the caterer. So that was bad. And then we come back to her losing the necklace. That's like the whole point of the heist, because she left her door open, like her apartment door open. And I'm like, again, that's bad. Like that's just bad. But then looking back, you're like, okay, she was so stressed about like her mom's sick. She already ruined stuff by showing this ring and everyone seeing it, and like recognizing that like now she stands out because she's this caterer with a ring when she's supposed to just blend in. And then the necklace is missing, and she thinks, oh, it must be my neighbor. So she tells on that. Originally, like because you're removed from it, you can be like, girl, you're making the worst decisions. And I do still stand by the fact that 1, she put that ring on was such a stupid decision. 2, that she was like, I'll just wear it with the diamonds facing in, stupid decision. And 3, leaving the apartment door open with the necklace, stupid decision. Those are indefensible. Everything else though, I feel like is her just panicking, you know, like her running in the woods and her going out to the hotel and sleeping in the closet because she's like, I literally have nowhere else to go. Like all that other stuff, you're just like, this poor girl is running on like fumes. And again, we've seen based on those previous decisions that I told you that she is not the best decision maker in the world. So that's why I like that it was like not this like sleek, sophisticated girl who's like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like it's this 16-year-old girl who thinks she knows what she's doing and thinks she can make things better, but constantly makes things worse. And yes, that can get a bit frustrating, but I'm so understanding of it. And again, it was like a little sibling or like a cousin, I feel like, that you're just like, oh, like you're just so overwhelmed. Like you need someone in charge. And they even talk about that at the end with the mom where she's like, you know, like I'm the adult. Like I know that like I've been out and like you've had to make decisions, but like I'm the adult and you just get to be the kid now. And I feel like that kind of explains the whole essence of it to me, of both of them, Liam and her, like, had to be the adults in this parent-child relationship. And Liam even talks to her about it afterwards, of how he's like, you're kind of taking away, like you're treating her like she's your child, and that's not fair to her or you, because you're the child. You get to just rest and like mess things up, and then mom will come in and like fix them, you know? Like, it's not on you to fix all these problems because they're not even all hers. So I really, really like that aspect of it, and I think that's why I was more understanding of them making bad decisions. It also helps, like, when they decide to go back to the compound and Liam's like, this is a bad decision, and she's like, I don't know what else to do, and I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Like, sometimes it's like, if they were like making these decisions being like, I don't think it's a bad decision, I feel like I'd be more on it, but the fact that they acknowledge that it's not a good idea, that helps. But I do feel like, again, like, my favorite scenes were those like really scary ones, like when her mom gets attacked the first time and realizing that like the only reason they even knew about it was because Augustus happened to see the guy climbing in at the time, and like just all the timing so perfectly of things, of like, if this person hadn't seen this, if they hadn't been outside when the car was coming or stuff like that. And then the revelation at the end of like how Jem had like betrayed them all was really, really good. Like I said, so much about, I was like, it's Morgan, I got this. So then to find out that it's not Morgan and it was Jem and Morgan was actually trying to help them, I think that was done so masterfully, because again, I was full on the boat that it was Morgan. Like, no part of me was like, it's not her, because it wasn't like them pointing out like, oh, it's got to be her. Like, when they thought that it was her, it was already so far into the book that I was like, yeah, obviously that's where I'm getting. And you think they're setting up the steps to show you of like, oh, here's all the clues that it is Morgan. But no, those are full on like red herrings, and I was full on that hook, you know, like I was there. So it was just so good. Like, the action scenes were so good. There was like literal suspense, which I feel like I don't get a lot in like these types of books, because I feel like, again, they're just like, I don't know, they're usually just not that suspenseful for me, but this one really did it, and the way that they were able to weave everything together at the end. And I feel like because the characters were so interesting and likable, that like you actually rooted for them and felt like there were stakes of like people were coming after them repeatedly. It wasn't just like, again, like notes or, you know, like something, like there was actual like attacks that they had to go and fight back against. It was really, really good. So I ended up liking it way more than I thought I would, because I tell you, when she took that ring and like literal her thought process was, I'll just turn the diamonds on the inside so no one else sees, I was like, oh. So that, I thought I was going to be so out, but then it was so, so good. I'm excited to read like more of her books and see what else is up with all of that. But yeah, this was a really, really fun one. I highly recommend it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, if you have read this book or any other Karen book, let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments, and also which ones you recommend to read next, because she has quite a few that aren't in the One of Us is Lying series, so I'm excited to check those out. And I think this one was just so fun. I also love the cover. Like, she's got the classic, like all her covers kind of match in a way, but the back with like all the like broken glass pieces and everything like that is really, really cool. So I just think it was so fun. It was suspenseful, it was scary, it felt like there were actual stakes and everything, and the characters were really likable. Augustus I love. They were all different in a way, but I liked that they kind of all bounced off each other like opposites. Like, they filled in the gaps and like made each other, like they really looked out for each other, and I just think that was really sweet. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!